I am not a fan of coups. I am a firm believer in democracy. I strongly believe that if there were lesser coups in Africa and more transitions by the ballot, Africa will advance better than it is doing through coups and by the power of the bullet. For that reason, I am not a big fan of that particular gentleman.
Welcome to the Eye of Africa. Now, in today's video, we are going to react, or I am going to react on this clip of Kenyan member of parliament, or Kenyan senator, Cheruiyot is his name, who he is against Ibrahim Traore. And let me say this. This Kenyan senator is sending the message of President of Kenya, William Ruto. So I hereby say that William Ruto is saying this about Ibrahim Traore. He does not like Ibrahim Traore. He does not like the ideology of Ibrahim Traore. And that's why this Kenyan senator standing here and sending this message to the world, how they feel about Ibrahim Traore. Let me tell you, this is not the stand of Kenyans. Because I have seen Kenyans, some of them, a lot of them, supporting the motive of Ibrahim Traore. But the few people who are in the government, who are supporting William Ruto, there is a video we saw of the vice president or the prime minister of Kenya, Musalia Mudavadi, saying no to Ibrahim Traore. Now this is another senator who is supporting the president of Kenya, sending a message. And this message, it would represent the president of Kenya stance. Let's watch this clip and then we'll come here and react on it.
Mr. Speaker, anyway, on a more serious note, there is something else, Senator Ledama, you need to check. You know, I followed, you said something that got my attention about Captain Ibrahim Traore. I used to also fall for his hype, like many people fall on TikTok. I saw another journalist another time saying, oh, did you see the way he was cheered when he arrived for the inauguration of the Ghanaian new president, Mr. Speaker? And I was excited like most people. Until I did some further research about what is exactly going on in Burkina Faso. And I want to challenge Senator Ledama to do the same. Perhaps counter-check, Senator Ledama, the things that you read online and the reality on ground, as Kenyans say. And I was shocked actually to learn that despite all this hype and the things that we read about, the things that they are doing, you know, first of all, I am not a fan of coups. I am a firm believer in democracy. I strongly believe that if there were lesser coups in Africa and more transitions by the ballot, Africa will advance better than it is doing through coups and by the power of the bullet. For that reason, I am not a big fan of that particular gentleman. But more importantly, the reason why the military, led by him, took over Burkina Faso is that they insisted that there were challenges with security in their country. And there were terrorists ravaging around, killing people, and all these kind of challenges. You need to check Senator Ledama, because from the research that I did, is that actually since they took over power, and you know wars are very costly. You can see what is happening to the gentleman in Ukraine. See how he's being embarrassed and the things that he's being taught. Because wars are extremely expensive. If you don't have a way through which you will fund your war, then you better not start it. So the unfortunate situation in that country, and we need to check, unfortunately they are not part of the Great Lakes, but this is just to make the point that we need to understand our continent better, is that since coming into power by the bullet of Captain Ibrahim Traore, they have lost 40% more territory to the terrorists that were ravaging people. So it's easy to read all these things online, TikTok, and people say, oh, certain things are happening. But do your research further. And that's the tragedy with Africa. That is part of what this report is telling us, that as parliamentarians, Mr. Speaker, in African nations, we know very little about our continent. Of course, the issue that you further raised, Senator Ledama, which is extremely important, is the challenges of travel within this continent. You remember, in 2023, President William Ruto flagged off outside here, just next to Parliament at KICC, the first consignment of goods that were supposed to be sold from Kenya into the rest of the African countries under the ACFTA arrangement, Mr. Speaker. It took 3 months for those goods to get from Nairobi to Accra, Ghana, because of the challenges of logistics, border points, areas where there are conflict, poor road network and infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. Very serious challenges that this continent is facing, Mr. Speaker, which, unless we as the leaders, we that serve in Parliament, almost all our governments and institutions on the continent, Mr. Speaker, have their budgets drawn in their parliaments. And we must consciously begin to make decisions that further make our countries more competitive. We must think beyond, Mr. Speaker, just passing division of revenue and saying we have done our duty as a Senate of the Republic of Kenya. We must know, how do we open up markets for our farmers, Mr. Speaker? That's why we must appreciate President Trump for these tariffs, because they are a wake-up call to us. We don't need to fight, Mr. Speaker, to access that market if we were to trade and make it possible for Africans to trade amongst themselves, Mr. Speaker. Half of the goods that we export, Mr. Speaker, actually come back to the rest of the continent at a higher cost. Lipton tea, which leaves Kericho, Mr. Speaker, at $2, arrives back in Accra, having been processed at their facility in France and Netherlands, Mr. Speaker, at $4 or $6, Mr. Speaker. Just across the same continent, trading amongst ourselves, but through intermediaries that are based in other continents that are better organized. And therefore, until we begin following through the recommendations of such reports, Mr. Speaker, we continue to make a mockery of the citizens that we lead, of the time that we spent in these conferences talking about the challenges and the things that we need to do to address and make our continent better, Mr. Speaker, because the solutions lie within ourselves. If Africa was to trade amongst itself, Mr. Speaker, we would earn more respect. We wouldn't even need to borrow the kinds of money that we are borrowing, Mr. Speaker, to run our economies, Mr. Speaker, because that is money that we are losing out. This is a continent of the future. And I want to appreciate the legislators that met last weekend, Mr. Speaker. I didn't get a...
Mr. Speaker, I want to talk to Africa today. Mr. Macron, the President of France, we want to request you to leave alone the leaders of Africa. Ibrahim Traore took charge when political temperatures in Burkina Faso were not okay. Corruption was at peak. Lies were at peak. Ibrahim Traore has designed Burkina Faso for the Burkina Faso people. Let him do his work. Yesterday, there was a military coup which was being sponsored by Ivory Coast. We want to tell the president of Ivory Coast, Bwana Ouattara, leave Burkina Faso alone. We don't want imposed leaders on us. If you find a young man aged 34 years has decided that there will be no famine in Africa, there will be no people who cannot go to school, there will be people who will not die because of malaria, let him work. Let him finish his vision. We don't want to see another Sankara being killed because of political influence from the West. If Traore has decided that uranium will not be used to enrich your weapons, let him use it to the best of the interests of the Burkina Faso people. We want to ask Russia, give support to Burkina Faso, protect Traore, protect the people of Burkina Faso, because the African continents, they have colluded with the whites to derail independent leaders. A person who can decide to buy his people 4,000 tractors. One tractor is 4 million Kenya shillings. I don't know how much of that is in Burkina Faso. 4,000 tractors for the common Mwananchi. That is a leader to be emulated. That is a leader to be supported.
This Kenyan senator is saying that since Ibrahim Traore took power, there have been a lot of terrorist attacks, which is true. Even Ibrahim Traore has accepted that. But that does not mean that we should sit down at our comfort and see the Western powers exploiting us. So we better be cool, calm, and in poverty and everything, and being mistreated and colonized than fighting for our country. That's what he's trying to say. If our ancestors could just sit down and say, we don't have to fight. Right now, the Muzungus were or could still be here in Africa controlling. Kenya could not be that independent country you are trying to say. But because our ancestors stood up and fight the colonial powers, that's why we have a country. That's why you can stand here and talk. These terrorist attacks that are in Burkina Faso are being sponsored to diminish, to belittle the presidency of Ibrahim Traore, to cause chaos so that he can run out of the power. But Ibrahim Traore is a man enough to stand still, is a man enough to fight for the country, to try so hard to send away these terrorists. So you want to tell me, when France was controlling Burkina Faso, there were no terrorists? You have just said by yourself that since he took power, it have increased to 40%, losing the states. That means that even before he took power, these terrorists were there. And most of them are working with the whites, are working with the Western countries to disrupt the peace of the country so that they can continue exploiting. Where they get guns, where they get bullets, where they get these rifles is being sponsored. So Senator, Kenyan government will just be sit comfortably, seeing other people coming to the country, exploiting, stealing, killing, and you won't say anything because you don't want to lose some of your states. We have to go to the fight. And the fight is to liberate our country. The fight is to get the freedom. Even at what cost, we have to. Ibrahim Traore knows very well that his life is in danger, but he still goes out there and fight for the rights of his people. As Kenyan government, you are puppets to the West. So it's enough to say that you cannot support what Ibrahim Traore is trying to do. You can't. Because you are supporting the colonizer. You are supporting those who are coming to exploit Africa. This Kenyan senator has said that he is not a supporter of coup. Nobody is a supporter of coup. Because coups comes with blood. Nobody is a supporter of coup. But he is saying that if African countries could have a good transition in the ballot, it will be a better place. We have seen transitions in Ghana, we have seen in Nigeria, we have seen in Kenya, we have seen elsewhere good transition. But what else are we getting from those ballot transitions? What are we getting from our votes? Nothing. It's only cries, poverty, sickness, and everything. Literacy. So we can never continue saying that we want this democracy, and this is what we have been trying to say all along. They will come to us in the name of democracy, in the name of freedom, in the name of, all those good things. But which democracy are we getting? When we are going to vote, are we really voting for the right people? Are we really getting what we are supposed to get? Some coups are good enough and have to be supported. Even when our ancestors were taking back the country, they fought. It was like a coup. They were never given it easily. Can we look at the countries that were in a line with the colonizer? The countries that they didn't fight. The colonizer made sure that he have eaten 99% of the country. White farmers, white business people, white politicians, the economy was controlled by the whites. Up to now, still black people in those countries are struggling to come back on their feet. So we can say that we will sit down and watch our country be taken. See what happened in the financial bill 2024. The Gen Zs decided we are going out. So if we could have just seated down and say, we don't have to fight, we have to do this thing, then we could have been in the chaos of financial bill 2024, suffocating us every day. But let's say this. Ibrahim Traore is giving tension to William Ruto. They are not in the same page. Their ideologies are different. Number one, why their ideology is different is because one has the Western alignment, the other one has the Pan-African sovereignty. Captain Ibrahim Traore, who assumed power in 2022, champions African self-determination, distancing Burkina Faso from traditional Western alliances and fostering ties with Russia, China, and all these countries. His administration emphasized local resources control and has implemented policies such as banning the export of unrefined gold to promote domestic processing. On the other way, President William Ruto maintains strong relationship with Western countries, including the United States, seeking investment and support, which some critics view as perpetuating neo-colonial dependence. We only depend on them. We depend on their aids. We depend on what they give us. We depend on beggy, please give me. Please, we want to build this. Please, please, please. But Ibrahim Traore wants to build the country by its own resources. And that's why they go aside. The ideology difference have led to the public exchange of criticism. Traore condemned the Kenyan government handling the domestic of domestic protest, particularly highlighting the reports of deaths of over 60 youths during demonstration against Financial Bill 2024. He remarked this: if this is democracy, where youths have been killed for protesting, then let Burkina Faso remain a military state. You get that? If this is democracy, where youth are fighting for their rights and they are being killed, they are being gunned down, it's better Burkina Faso remain a military state. You get that? Traore snapped William Ruto in the Ghana's inauguration. You saw that. So we have difference between Ibrahim Traore, the captain, and the president of Kenya, William Ruto. I'm not saying that William Ruto is bad. I'm not saying anything. But what I'm trying to say, the ideologies are different. Kenyan ideologies, Kenyan president ideology and his counterparts, his senators and his MPs, they are different from the ideology of Ibrahim Traore. One is for Pan-African, another one is for Western alliances. One still needs to beg for the whites, another one wants his country to profit from their own resources. One is fighting for the people of that country, another one is fighting for the other people, fighting for the whites to have comfortability in our country. That's where there is difference. Each and everyone is a leader. But one is more than a leader, another one is a politician. Ibrahim Traore is a leader. William Ruto, the president of Kenya, is a politician. And politician with lies, same WhatsApp group. Leaders are here to lead. Politicians are here to lie, to distract, So it's easy to say that the geopolitical implications of these two leaders is different. Traore and Ruto reflects a broader continental struggle between emerging Pan-Africanist movement and traditional Western aligned government models. Traore is popular among African youths, signifies a yearning for leaders who prioritize indigenous solutions over foreign perspectives. Different with William Samoei Ruto, the president of Kenya. Now, You are here, you are watching this video. You are the one to judge. Between William Ruto and Ibrahim Traore, whom do you think that has the future of people in his hands? Who do you think that is fighting for the people of Africa? Who do you think that has the interests of black people in his heart? Whom do you think that wants the betterment for the people of Africa between these two leaders? Personally, my personal views is that Ibrahim Traore is the best thing to ever had. Even if we have these terrorists in the countries trying to undermine the sovereignty of the country of Burkina Faso, but he's trying. It's better to try than to sit down and being killed with hunger and sickness and literacy, and you have never tried anything to change that state. Tell me what you think on the comments about that video. Until next episode, peace out.